For your safety, please ensure that you read the full disclaimer located in the description below this video before you start your virtual training.
Hi there, my name is Katherine Ricica, fitness and sports instructor out of London, Ontario, servicing Southwestern Ontario. Welcome to our runner's warm-up. The object of our video today is to go over a warm-up protocol that you can either follow along with, or if you're just observing for the first time, maybe to just take away a couple of exercises to include into your already existing warm-up. It's very important that we warm up, especially before we go out for a run. Oftentimes runners will not warm up at all, do a very minimal workout, or they consider their first kilometer of their run their warm-up. Well, today I'd like you to open up your mind and try to take advantage of a couple of these different exercises that are going to help address some problem areas, prime some muscles and some movement, and give you the best range of motion possible before going for a run. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so let's get started into this warm-up. So to begin, we're going to be doing our walking internal and external hip rotation. So make use of the space that you have around you. I'm going to go on a diagonal here. So I'm going to raise my hip up to about 90 degrees at 12 o'clock. I'm going to rotate my knee out to the side and then place it back down. And I'm just going to walk around my space using this method of rotating through the hips. So right now we're rotating up and out. So just make sure that you're controlling the range of motion and that we're using our hips very minimally. We really want to keep them squared off to the front of the room, rather than, using the whole upper body involved in the hip rotation. So doing this for a few more reps, and then what we'll do is we'll go in reverse. So now we're going to go out to the side and then come in, which I was already kind of doing. But this way we're lubricating the joints in our hips, we're activating the range of motion through our hips, which is going to help give us a little bit more force and a little bit more power in our strides for our run today. Excellent. Next, we're going to move through a dynamic hamstring stretch. And in our hamstring stretch, it's really great because we're going to improve our mobility through the posterior chain of muscles. And it's also going to help by activating those hamstrings and those glutes in order to assist us in the eccentric phase of our running stride. So essentially, we're going to hinge forward at our hips, bring our left foot forward in front of the body, and then coming back up. So maintaining a neutral spine, flexing that extended leg out, and keeping the foot nice and flexed. So if I come forward, and it's okay if you're feeling quite tight through the hamstrings, we don't need to worry too much about our range of motion. As long as we're feeling a nice stretch, don't be too concerned about if you can only get, a couple degrees of flexion through the hips. All right, so now we're going to pick it up a little bit more. We're going to go into straight leg running. So we're going to keep the upper body nice and tall, staying active through the ankles. And we're going to imagine that, we can't really bend our knees too much anymore. So we're going to kick the feet out in front of the body. And really, we're activating those ankles, those fine muscles that are going to help with our stability if we're running on uneven terrain. So also getting the heart rate up a little bit here, getting the calves nice and warm, and just make use of the space that you've got coming back and forth. Excellent. A few more seconds. Wonderful. Okay, if you've got a chair or a bench or a bed nearby, now's the time where we're going to use it. So we're going to be working dynamically through our T-spine. Oftentimes, if we're a high mileage runner, we can get a little bit tight and sore through the chest, through the shoulders, through the neck. So here we're going to try to elongate that spine. So it should be a fairly relaxing stretch actually. So coming down, we're going to place our elbows on top of whatever surface we've got. Hopefully it's a bit soft. And we're going to sink back and drive our glutes back towards the opposite wall and extending and becoming straight through the spine. So I'm elongating through my lats and I'm letting my head sink in between my arms. And ideally, with every exhale, we're sinking further into the stretch. And we're inhaling and we're exhaling. And come on up. Good. While we're on the topic of T-spine, we're gonna not go too far, so just push your chair off to the side. We're gonna come into a tabletop position on our hands and knees. So hands are underneath of the shoulders, hips are underneath, or knees are underneath of the hips. We're gonna raise our right arm up, fingertips behind the ear, staying stable and even through the hips and open through the chest. We're gonna turn our right elbow up towards the ceiling and bring our gaze forward. So our T-spine, remember, is our spinal column and then our shoulders. That creates a T pattern. So here we're rotating through the spine in a way that we might not normally get through this plane or this range of motion in a regular day. So it's really great to focus a little bit on it before our run. Release the hand down and switch sides. Rotating to the opposite side now, pulling that shoulder blade back, and just moving dynamically and fluidly for the entire range of motion, keeping the muscles on and with purpose. Excellent. Coming down, swing your legs around into a glute bridge now. So we're going to be lying down on our backs, knees are bent. And here, we're going to make sure that the heels are just a little bit away from our glute muscles. Our chest and back, our back and shoulders rather, is on the ground. And we're going to thrust the hips up to the sky. So squeezing the glutes, driving up through the heels. Not hyperextending through the spine, just a nice line from the heels, from the knees rather, to the shoulders. And I'm going to raise my left foot up to the sky and then place it back down. And essentially I'm going to do a marching glute bridge. So I'm working on the transfer of weight, maintaining balance through my hips, and I'm using my core. So this unilateral movement is challenging our glute muscles, using our hip flexors to help it improve our stride and the power through our hips in each and every stride of our run. So this is a really great piece to include in your warm-up, because not only are we activating glutes and hamstrings, but we're working on that knee drive through the hip. Let's do 2 more. Excellent. And lower down. All right, flipping it over, high plank position. We're going to do a runner's lunge. So hands underneath the shoulders, chest in between the wrists. Bring the right foot forward, long lunge. If you need to assist your foot to come up, that's okay. So I've got my left foot extended out, or you can lower it down to the ground, maybe put a towel under there for support. I'm going to take my right arm, I'm going to rotate up to the sky, chest is going to open, I'm going to look up towards my top hand. I'm going to bring my arm under again and then rotate. So we're doing more T-spine mobility, but we're also getting a really nice stretch to that right leg. I'm going to do 2 more. Last one. And I'm going to put both my hands down, step back into high plank, bring the left foot up now, and I'm going to go to the other side. Excellent, breathing with every movement. Wonderful, and step back into plank, and then walk it back up. Next, we're going to do our heel-toe walking. So heel-toe walking is going to help improve your stride, and especially if you're on uneven surfaces, but especially if you do this movement slowly enough, it's also going to work on your balance a little bit. So I want you to just picture that you're moving very slowly through some sticky caramel or some quicksand, and I want you to step forward on the heel, and then slowly transfer your weight up. Do a bit of a calf raise, and then slowly lower it back down, and just moving through the motion. You might lose your balance, and that's okay, but just make use of the space that you have. And we're just really turning on all those fine foot muscles when we just take a moment to move slowly and appreciate everything that's working in this stride. So imagine you're walking on the moon. We call this a moonwalk. And just walking around the space, really priming up the foot and the ankle, the impact it's about to have during your run. All right, and last but not least for our warm-up, we're gonna do some hurdles. So if you don't have hurdles, that's okay. We're gonna pretend that we do. So it's very important for this exercise that we're staying very upright with our posture, maintaining balance and engagement through our core. And really what we're going to do is pretend that we've got hurdles and we're gonna move laterally. Oftentimes runners, we're always moving forward and backwards, but we often forget to move side to side. And our side muscles of our glutes and our legs often get forgotten about. So really just a good way to move in a different way and maintain balance in our training. So we can pretend our hurdles are however high, and keeping that nice upright posture, we're gonna be coming over the hurdles, keeping those hips squared off, and just doing a couple in each direction, using whatever arms make sense for you. Maybe they're coming up overhead, and just trying to land softly, lubricating again those hip joints, and working on that knee drive coming up. One more. Try and do it the same amount of times each way. Excellent. Well done. In conclusion, we did a very comprehensive runner's warm-up. Everything from addressing hamstrings and calves, lubricating the hip joints, activating the hamstrings and glutes, as well as moving laterally side to side, as well as addressing the T-spine, which often gets forgotten about for most runners. I hope that you were able to take something away from this warm-up. My name is Katherine Ricica, fitness and sports instructor out of London, Ontario, servicing Southwestern Ontario. Have a great running season.